Following on from Jim Crowther's keynote speech, juxtaposing the essentially existential nature of the lifelong life-wide learning experience against the structures of institutions and curricula and time-framed outcomes, and the variance with social practices approaches which draw on real lives in real contexts to negotiate learner engagement in adult literacies teaching and learning, we find induced a reflection on the critical nature of the learner-teacher dynamic and the perception of the teacher as a craftsperson. RaPAL celebrates 30 years this year. I was wondering how many participants are members of RaPAL and of other professional networks. We thought it would be useful to review the diversity in teaching and learning strategies that have developed over the last 30 years. My name is Tara Furlong. I've been working in adult education and training for almost 20 years, in challenging London boroughs here and abroad. My profile is available online. I'm the web weaver for RaPAL and your host for this morning at the London Hub. Adult literacies in the 70s and 80s were largely resourced by volunteers in the UK and community organisations. Political interest took off in the late 90s, leading to a massive increase in consolidated funding and professionalisation in the new millennium. We are currently witnessing a lean rationalisation of the last 30 years' literacies development in the UK. I was wondering if anyone is aware of what was occurring in the late 90s that triggered this committed political interest in adult literacies education and the associated resourcing and investment frameworks. The OECD was undertaking and publishing international literacies surveys, comparing skills levels between countries with surprising results, and attaching countries' economic health and future resilience and well-being to people's skills levels. The UK was stunned by results indicating a prevalence of literacies levels in adults which would preclude them from participating and functioning effectively in a wide range of essential life activities, not least employment. The Moser report confirmed these findings and led to billions of pounds worth of investment via the Skills for Life initiative. The 25% cut in the adult skills budget over the last 3 years and the additional 25% over the next 3 is extraordinarily painful for an industry that has seen exponential growth since the turn of the millennia. There has also been an enormous amount of educational research in adult education, including multidisciplinary research into effective teaching and learning practices, which have disseminated out via teacher training, CPD and publications. We still find ourselves, however, as individuals, as professional practitioners, implementing the most appropriate strategies for our learners in the local context of our situated practice and concurrent challenges. I would like participants to brainstorm the most influential teaching and learning techniques and movements in your experience and the current pressing issues in your practice. You have a few minutes to do this before we move on to a more detailed activity, and in the meantime I'll be playing a short comedy video on dyslexia in education. Okay, can we share our ideas? For example, the number of different models of learning styles we've had, from holistic grasshopper and sequential inchworm, to visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile, VAKT, to Gardner's multiple intelligences. In a different vein, we've had Honey and Mumford's learning cycles and learner types, reflectors, theorists, pragmatists, activists, based on Kolb's learning styles across perceptual and processing continua. There's a bewildering and usually overlapping diversity of teaching and learning strategies, techniques, tools and other resources. Major initiatives are frequently associated with significant theoretical frameworks, whether from educational psychology, sociolinguistics and any number of others, and with plenty of cross-pollination across disciplines. As an example, differentiation came out of work in equalities, medicine and sociolinguistic analyses and theories. Who would have thought 30 years ago that everyone in education would know the name of one font? Suddenly, Comic Sans is famous because it's easier to read for dyslexic learners. What about coloured paper? Yellow paper is more likely to help some learners maintain their focus on the words printed on a page. Assessment for learning is a major movement that came out of work on formative assessment and the results of a major meta-study of impact factors across hundreds of different research studies. A meta-study is where other research studies are evaluated for impact and the results compiled. The work we have done around integrated, contextualised and situated models of English language and literacy, maths and ICT skills into learners' lives and vocational courses is underpinned by the new literacy studies. There is too much out there to be able to review or comprehend it all, however there are plenty of leads for new ideas. I am now distributing a jigsaw activity and would like you to match the bulleted sets of teaching and learning activities to the model they fit with, and underpinning theoretical frameworks of adult learning. Please be clear, this is not a test. What I'm particularly interested in you focusing on is which initiatives respond, if only in part, to the challenges you currently face in teaching, learning and assessment, and where you perceive there to be gaps in terms of current issues in your practice, and where part answers might lie. Which underpinning theoretical frameworks might support you to investigate and find solutions to the challenges you currently face? Where else might you locate resourcing to support you in responding to these challenges? I'll leave you about 10 minutes for this activity. There are pots of funding which exist for practitioners to be involved in research, from the New Education and Training Foundation to the Educational Endowment Fund to forms of European funding and others. RaPAL in its digital journal encourages members and others to write about their teaching and learning practice and research activities. The journal has 3 main sections. The first, of up to 1,000 words, is directed towards those who may not have written for publication before, to encourage, for example, dissemination of best practice in teaching and learning if you had, say, a lesson where you experimented and it went well. Or there is a book reviews and resources section. The second section, of up to about 2,000 words, would be for slightly more substantiated small-scale research projects around teaching and learning in adult literacies, and would make some reference to the works of others and how you went about the research activity. Our third section is peer-reviewed and carries the types of fully referenced and explicated articles that could be published in prestigious educational journals. We do this to scaffold practitioners' continuing professional development and to encourage discussion and dissemination of practitioners' ideas and activity. Please do look at our journal pages, which include past editions and guidance on writing for us. When RaPAL was formed in 1985, there were grassroots movements which supported publishing students' writing. The prestige and motivational experience for learners who would previously have considered themselves fairly illiterate of seeing their words and their writing in print in a formal publication cannot be underestimated. As part of RaPAL's 30-year celebrations, we are launching Stories of Resilience, a learner voice co-publication with colleagues at ACAL, the Australian Council for Adult Literacy. We're looking for short pieces of up to 1,000 words, in adult learners' own words, around their experiences of learning English, maths and ICT, and how these journeys have contributed to improving their quality of life. The transformational effects of participating in adult literacies education. We have a website for the pilot phase of the project, sharing a range of learner stories, including some video and audio clips and images that they have created to share, and guidance and support resources for teachers interested in participating with their learners, perhaps as a group activity. One of the most powerful comments made by a number of these contributors was that they were happy and keen to share their stories in the hope it might support and encourage others to engage in adult learning. Details are on the website and in flyers in your packs. Please take a moment to reflect on what we've covered so far in preparation for the next section on action research. Thank you.